changing world. How can marketeers achieve agility and consistency to win the game of continuously shifting goalposts? How are new marketing models evolving in response to the changing consumers and business conditions? How is big data changing the role and scope of marketing? We invite on stage Mr. D. Shivakumar, Chairman and CEO, India Region, PepsiCo India Holdings Private Limited. Mr. Sanjiv Mehta, CEO and Managing Director, Hindustan Unilever Limited. And to chair the session, we have with us Ms. Supriya Srinate, Policy Editor, ET Now. There they are, ladies and gentlemen. Let's welcome our eminent panelists with a round of applause. A brief introduction to the chairperson of this session. Supriya Srinate is a business journalist with nearly 14 years of experience in news reporting, writing, and anchoring. She is currently the policy editor and anchor at ET Now, the Economic Times business news channel. She has moderated several panels at the India Economic Summit, organized by WEF for the Indian government and for industry associations like CII and FICCI. Supriya was part of the core team that launched ET Now. She has been with the channel since its inception. Prior to joining ET Now, she was with NDTV Profit and Business Today, the fortnightly magazine of the India Today group. May I now invite Ms. Supriya Srinate to please conduct the session. Is this okay if we do it from here?
Right. Hi everyone, it's a good morning to each one of you. This is an interesting session, remodeling marketing in a fast-changing world, and each one of us can vouch for the fact that this world is indeed changing very, very fast, and who better than Sanjiv Mehta and D. Shivakumar to answer some of the questions that you will have. But first up, I'm going to ask Sanjiv to make his opening remarks, and then of course Shiv will follow to set the context for this very interesting discussion. Sanjiv?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Absolutely delighted to be here today, and even more delighted to share the podium with Shiv. Shiv is an old friend, and not surprisingly, he's an alumni of Unilever. So look at the first slide, and look at the pictures over there. I think it was the US Army which captured the word very succinctly when they talked about VUCA. Yeah? And that's what the world is about. Volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So on one side, you have the natural devastations. Yeah, we're talking about Nepal. You're talking about the crisis in the Middle East. And of course, consumer using a mobile in the world of digitization. Now, as a society and as marketing, we cannot be immune to what is happening around us. If social media could facilitate the overthrow of Hosni Mubarak in Egypt in 3 weeks, and that was the time when both Shiv and I were in the Middle East, a brand or a company could be put down to the knees in nanoseconds. Yeah, that's the power of social media. And in this context, we are talking about a consumer who is, I would describe as digitally entitled. They have the information, they want the best products, the lowest possible price, delivered at home, possibly without having to pay for shipping. And if there is a problem, they want immediate recourse. Now, digital is no longer an add-on. It is an integral to the way we do marketing. to the way we do business. Now, change has always been a part of civilization, but what makes it different now is the speed and velocity of change. In that context, the science of marketing has, of course, undergone a shift. It is no longer linear anymore. Today, people are telling us about themselves every hour, every day. And if you were to look at the amount of information that is garnered, in every 48 hours, we are talking about the same quantum of information as from the advent of civilization till perhaps 2003. We are talking about exabytes, 5 exabytes. Now, what the heck is exabyte? Take 5 and add 18 zeros. That's what exabyte is. Now, research and analytics today is helping us shed light on who buys, what, why, under what circumstances, who is influencing them, and also it helps us as marketeers to understand the consumer decision journey and know what kind of marketing interventions and where are going to yield the highest benefit. Focus groups are increasingly being replaced by quantitative research. Big data is often used to describe this transition. Historically, a lot of effort has gone into in evaluating and monitoring the effectiveness of spends. But now, increasingly, a McKinsey study has very clearly indicated the higher the digitization quotient of a brand, the higher rate of conversion. This is not just applicable to consumer durables, but equally to FMCG brands. More thoroughly digitized brands also benefit from the word of mouth. Now, brands that have moved swiftly to mastering digital channels gain a deep understanding of consumer preferences. They are able to craft engaging experiences and also continually improve the offerings via the feedback that you get from the social networks. Now, Darwin understood this much before our times. Let me play for you an AV of how we are responding to the world of digital in rural India.
Brands spent millions on TV ads, but 38% of India has no access to TV. That's 500 million people. One of the main reasons, electricity. No access to TV, no access to entertainment. But the one thing they all have is access to their mobile phones. An untapped medium that was complicated and expensive. Until Kan Khajura Tesan made it simple, free and entertaining. A simple idea, a free radio station in a mobile phone. Make a missed call and get a call back. The call that comes back is loaded with 25 minutes of free entertainment.
चुटकुले भी आ रहा था उसमें, शाहरुख खान का भी कुछ उसमें आया.
बहुत सारे एडवर्टाइजिंग आते हैं, लाइव वायलॉग्स, फिर क्लोजअप वगैरह.
Music, news, series, jokes, and of course 3 minutes of brand messages. Results were unheard of. 30 million subscribers adding nearly 35,000 every day. That's not it. Its incremental reach over TV and better reach to women is what made the campaign unique. It's the perfect marketing tool. It's precise. It's customizable. Traceable. Time-based. Now KKT has evolved into a much bigger entity. 20 seconds ad spots between content, which we can track and know if it's working. Entertaining properties like 60-second exclusives. Time and profile-based content. Overall, our brand's impact has been significant, an increase of over 1,000 BPS in awareness levels. But the real effectiveness was in achieving the above success at mere 3 cents for each brand impression. You heard it right, just 3 cents. That's the power of mobile marketing. KKT leveraged it to the full. HUL, Say hello to mobile marketing.
Now, many times when you talk about digitization, you talk about engaging with consumers in the higher socioeconomic ladder. That's not true. There is an equal opportunity to engage with bottom of pyramid. Now, this radio station has become the most popular radio station in Bihar. Now we have extended it to UP and other parts of the Hindi heartland. So coming from here and talking about the purpose, the expectations of society from business and brands has certainly undergone a shift. Recognize that in 2009, Unilever launched a sustainable living plan. And the intent was very clear. How do we decouple our growth agenda from the environment footprints? And how do we recouple it by increasing the societal benefits? Coming to brands with purpose, some of the basics in marketing, despite the world of digitization, hasn't undergone a shift. You need an attitude for a brand, you need a story, and you have got two buttons to push, mind and heart, or intelligence and emotions. The importance of storytelling, ladies and gentlemen, hasn't diminished in the world of digitization. But the way to tell the story is morphing continually. And now, as storytelling encompasses more digital interactions, it becomes even more powerful. In the present age, the brands not only provide functional benefits, they not only occupy the emotional space in the hearts of consumers, but very importantly, they have to have a purpose. That's what the society expects from the brands. And that's where what we call it as a brand story or a brand love. We want our consumers who have a purpose to fall in love with our brands. I think Dove is a classic example, a brand which has been in existence for over 50 years, a contemporary brand. It was relevant for generation 50 years back. It is relevant today. Great functional attributes about moisturization, great emotional benefits about real beauty, and of course, the way it has embraced how do you improve the societal and reduce your environmental impact, I think is one clear example. In the world of marketing, you have to transgress from discover, design to deploy great products and services through great marketing interventions. Discovery starts with what consumers care about, how they truly behave, what their needs are, what their unmet needs are, and what influences them. This really entails pulling in the data, analyzing the data at high speed, turning it into relevant insights, and delivering those insights to take meaningful actions. This requires advanced analytics. Developing deep understanding of one's consumer requires a detailed map of the journey, awareness of what the battlegrounds are for your brand. Big data and analytics is helping shift from mass marketing to massive customization, from one size fits all to one size fits me. But finding insights is never easy. It's like finding a needle in the data haystack. The secret, of course, is how do you separate the signal from the noise? Then we come to design. Effective design, again, is based on deep understanding of the consumers and a very clear strategic view of the growth opportunities. Today's analytic tools allow you to simulate a real-life situation in your lab. What you see in the picture over there is a kick center in a Mumbai head office, which is a customer insight and innovation center where we are able to simulate the real-life experience which a shopper undergoes and make meaningful changes even before we launch a brand. But the key also is, how do you get the right translator? A translator who can understand the needs of the non-technical marketing person and also is able to take the findings of the data scientist and translate it into intelligible terms to the marketeer. Find the right strategy, it is all about deploying. But deploying today across the multi-channels becomes very difficult. This is about offering to individual consumers across a complex range, of channels, online and offline, orchestrating the delivery of products across the channels requires operational excellence and organizational agility in multi-channel consumer experience. So this is not just about consumers at the high end of the pyramid, but also at the bottom of the pyramid. Now, conversations today happen in real time. A couple of weeks back, we had the Lakme Fashion Week. The change that we had done was we had set up a command center. We were monitoring tweets, what was happening on the social media, live. And we were doing interventions so that we could rightly engage with the consumers when it mattered and where it mattered. Let me share with you, but before I go to the AV, let me take you through. The key about the Lakme Fashion Week, where we had engagements crossing 30 million people, was about converting real-time learnings to real-time actions. And that's where it made a difference. It increased our reach. It increased our conversations across the brand with different spectrum, and not just with people who are residing in Bombay and Delhi, but also in Midtown India, also in rural India. Let me play an AV for you, which captures how we are engaging with the consumers, not at the bottom, but somewhere up the ladder.
To be a showstopper at Lakme Fashion Week, the 3 essentials are style, confidence, and the perfect look. But to nail that perfect look, you need time and multiple makeup trials. Not anymore. Presenting the Lakme Makeup Pro app, my very own personal makeup stylist. This year at Lakme Fashion Week, the trend is high cheekbones, contoured lips, and perfectly defined eyes. The sculpt look is what I'm going for. Let's try some looks. Not sure about this. Interesting, but let's keep looking. That's what I call a showstopper. Now for finishing touches. Some eyeshadow, some blush. There, perfect. Let's get that look. See you on the runway.
Now, those of you who have got Android phones, you can download this app. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to go to salon to see how different makeup will work on you. You can do it sitting wherever you choose. That's the power of digital marketing. I'm afraid, as a consumer marketer, I have to show you a couple of AVs, right? It often gets stuck at the wrong time. He was talking about music stardom. But what was applicable to music stardom is equally applicable to the world of marketing. Consistency over the consumer journey. There is more important because of multi-channel and multiple touch points in the consumer journey. Emotional consistency. When encompassed, brands, great brands are encompassed in a feeling of trust. And the biggest drivers of satisfaction and loyalty is all about the emotional space you occupy in a consumer's heart. Now, brand is driven by a combination of promises made and promises kept. So you have to be very consistent when it comes to communication. Dove, again, I picked up this example. Look at how it has been communicating. What consistency of communication. What was true 50 years back is true even today. The next slide, please. Now, marketing is no longer a batch process. It is a continuous one. Consumer preferences change with velocity and also the dynamics of the market and product life cycles. Now, marketers need agility and skills in cloud to bring all the functions together. And that is where the new role of the marketeer becomes even more profound. And remember, complexity is always the enemy of speed. As more of science gets into marketing, the role of the marketing goes beyond messaging, and it moves to shaping the substance of the business, from the purpose of the brand, the experience of consumers, the delivery of benefits, both functional and emotional, and of course, to drive innovation with new products and new services. The power of digital tool gives the marketing opportunities for real-time impact, and that's the profound difference from the world of marketing, which was 30 years back, where if you understood the communication on TV and you knew how to interpret the television ratings, your job was done. Today, it has changed significantly. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me.
You've been speaking about falling in love with your brands. I'm presuming some of us vouch for that. Shiva, I hand it over to you. We do hope you will have no technical glitches on your way to make that presentation.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and always a pleasure to come and participate in an AIMA event. As you know, some of you might know that I was the president of All India Management Association in 2012-13, a body I was very proud to lead, and I'm always proud to contribute to it. And every AIMA event, I wear the standard tie. This is a standard issue. I have 6 of them, which Rekha gives me. I hope she's not giving me another tie today. Okay? So good. What am I going to cover today for you? The structure. About change. You know, a lot of us talk about change. And I want to give you 1 or 2 data points for us to think about how strong, how dramatic change is. Okay? So I'll talk about change. Then I'll talk about the Fmcg market in India, a few data points in terms of what's happening out there and what do I see going forward. Then I'll leave you with some thoughts in terms of agility, the way consumers are interacting with brands, the way brands should reshape themselves, and then a quick summary. Okay? This is what I'm going to cover over the next 15 minutes. Let's go. First, all of us get the concept of change intellectually. You look at the conversation with people, most people will say, yeah, change is omnipresent, change is ever happening, tomorrow will be different from today, etc. All of us get it intellectually. But very few individuals and very few teams and very few organizations and very few institutions truly internalize that in a dramatic way to say, hey, we need to change. We always think change, somebody else gets affected by change, not me. That's our intellectual appreciation of change. Let me give you a stat which will tell you how dramatic change is right now. The average life of an S&P 500 company in the year 1960 was 60 years. The average life of an S&P 500 company today is 12 years. If that is not change, I don't know what change is. So which basically means a company is born and dies before it even achieves teenage. That's what's happening today. And the biggest reason for this is technology. Okay, technology has been the greatest leveler between industries, between companies. It's also been the biggest disruptor. Okay, so the average life of a company has dropped from 60, 55 years ago, to 12 today. So how does a company really work in this kind of an environment? Because this affects the consumer, affects the customer, it affects society, and more important, it affects the company and the employee. Who is going to think long-term, which is 12 years now? 1 decade is what you're seeing as the disruption going on right now. Okay? Let's look at India, okay, in terms of household incomes. The top 2% of households is what we call global households. They account for 11% of the total income in this country. Okay? The top 2% households in India earn more than 18.5 lakh rupees per annum. They are as rich as the average American. So in India, you have a society right at the top which behaves exactly like America in income terms. That's the money they have in their pockets. The middle class has, after many, many years, truly and well has arrived. About 20% is clear middle class, which is good. India has been writing about the middle class since 1991. I remember the cover stories of most magazines saying, the middle class boom, it's happening, tomorrow morning, day after, it's coming, wait for it. It's happened. That's very good news, because you have a stable sense right at the top right now. You have about a quarter of the households roughly in a stable area. But it's also a big opportunity for premiumization. And that's exactly what we are seeing right now. The consumer is changing, but the consumer is changing and wanting many, many premium offerings right now. And that's what we should align ourselves to. The next billion is there, and then the bottom of the pyramid continues. Okay? The ability for the bottom of the pyramid to tap into brands and to tap into a number of the technologies which brands offer is something which will be an ongoing exercise. Okay? That's still half the market. Okay? It's still half the market. So India will be in a concurrent speed phase. In fact, I think India is a 3-speed market. A top end which is accelerating rapidly into a global phenomenon, a middle class which is aspiring much more premiumization, and a bottom of the pyramid which is coming up into the basic needs. So it's kind of a 3-speed market as I see it. Fmcg in India, where both Sanjiv and I work, a very large market. It was the base for talent in this country over the last 30, 40 years. And Unilever was virtually the university of grooming people in the area of marketing and business management. A $38.5 billion industry, 26,000 companies. Last year, 5,000 companies were added in this sector. 2014, January 1, there were 21,000 FMCG companies. End of the year, there were 26,000. So which clearly tells you entry barriers are dropping, so you have many, many more people coming. Entry barriers are dropping to media, through social media. Entry barriers are dropping to brands. Entry barriers are dropping to access to distribution. Everything is dropping simultaneously in this country. There are many, many brands. Every category has more than 1,000 brands. Every category. Okay? And there are many trade brands. So brands and trade brands exist. A trade brand is something a company just sells to trade, and then trade takes care of it. That's what's really happening out there. So for me, and I think I echo Sanjeev's comment about a promise, to me, a brand is a time-saving device. And you can judge it for yourself when you go to the supermarket vis-a-vis when you go to the chemist. When you go to the chemist, you talk of generic brands, and you're dependent on the interface, the compounder or the chemist to tell you what you have to take back home. Whereas when you go to a supermarket, the familiar toothpaste brand, the familiar soap brand, the familiar shampoo brand attracts you. So fundamentally, whatever happens with change, a brand is a time-saving device. Fundamentally, whatever happens with technology, a brand has to promise something, and it has to deliver and over-deliver on that promise. That's the only reason the brand will continue to exist. The day that brand does not deliver on its promise, it's in trouble. So whatever the landscape changes, the basic premise of a brand doesn't change. Next, I want to let you know India is a branded market. And many people don't get this, especially when I talk to consultants abroad or investors, etc. In which country in the world will you see cement being advertised on television? In which country in the world will you see chappals being advertised on television? Which country in the world do you see wires being advertised on television? Nowhere. India is a branded country because when something goes up on television or wherever it is, the trade thinks, okay, here's a company which is serious about its brand. And that's why we should stock it and we should support it and we should sell it. Because the trade dynamics are very different here compared to elsewhere. Because of the velocity nature of our trade market, the average retailer buys in the morning, sells in the afternoon, pays the distributor next day. So the main vehicle on which this velocity model works is the brand. And India will always be a branded market.